check one, two.
Can you hear me, David Lee Scales?
I can indeed. Where are you this lovely evening?
I'm in a secret spot. I'm just gonna keep it. I'm in Kauai.
Now that reveals that if that is the red herring, that reveals that Kauai is the secret spot that you've not named in the past.
Exactly. But the secret spot I will never name is Kauai.
Okay.
So, oops. I mean, I'm in Maui. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, then we will remain clueless. All I know is you're not in Paris any longer. It is almost noon in Southern California on a Friday, and it's late at night where you're at, but still
It's
sunny somehow.
late at night, but magically sunny. Kauai, the sun, I mean Maui, the sun never sets, David Lee Scales.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's July 19th. This is the grit for 2024.
Can you believe it that we're already here,
Almost the
mid-July?
Olympics is upon us.
It's basically tomorrow. I mean, it's not really. It is
1 week
yeah,
away.
a week away. A week away. Opening ceremonies. I will be there on the Champs-Élysées
Will you?
as yeah, I mean not for the opening ceremony, but right thereafter.
Okay.
But they are doing the opening ceremony down the Seine, if you can believe it. That's
I
where the
saw a
opening
news
ceremony.
story. Saw a news story about people who lived in houseboats that are being booted out for the opening ceremony.
So long. Paris like is honestly scrubbed to within an inch of its life.
I like it though. That's awesome.
I've never seen a cleaner Paris. Yeah, it is epic. I mean, it was like easy to get around, nobody there. And yeah, when I was there, I was thinking about the homeless I saw, the very few homeless. Saw one homeless dude who had a 12 pack of beer and he was just popping them, drinking them one at a time. Saw another homeless person laying on a perfect air mattress, just sleeping on an air mattress, like fully inflated, just living best life. And thinking, man, the bums even know how to do it in France.
They've got squab, fresh access to squab everywhere.
Exactly.
Um, so I often think about best places to be homeless because not because I plan on being homeless at some point, but because I live near the beach and I see homeless people at the beach and I think they've got it figured out. Like if you could be homeless anywhere, Southern California at the beach is kind of the best location.
I mean, imagine the amount of money people spend to live at the beach in Southern California. There are people who are spending tens upon tens of millions of dollars to live at the beach. And there's also people spending nothing to live at the beach.
Exactly. Well, coming off of our hot squab talk and last week's wine pairing talk, we got a listener feedback. So I'm going to read that to you. It says, "Hey, DLS and Chaz, it's a cold winter's night in Cronulla. The swell is building for what looks like a few epic days of surf ahead. I settle in with a few cold tinnies to watch my beloved Cronulla Sharks play football. My phone buzzes. The boys are up the road, fire cranking with pizza on the way to watch the game. Knowing that staying in equals a happy wife, which will lead to plenty barrels of plenty in the coming days, I decide to stay put. My phone buzzes again, and with one light-hearted jab from the boys, FOMO kicks in, and I'm on the push bike in a flash. I return home at midnight with a goofy grin that can only come from your team winning by 30 points and 10 beers. At the door, I'm met by my wife, staring daggers at me, screaming, "Where have you been? I've called you 6 times." I check my pockets only to realize my phone had been home the whole time. Oh shit, this is not good, I think to myself. She reads my mind. If you think you're going to go surfing all weekend, you're crazy. Saturday morning, I wake up in a haze, but my wife's gone out. I bail and surf a little protected slabby reef with a make rate consistent with a 10 beer hangover. Whilst bouncing off the reef, in my mind, I'm thinking, how do I get out of the doghouse? I jump in my car to return home and to face the music when I see that the latest episode of the Grit podcast has dropped. And as if a message had been sent down from the heavens, my two guardian angels begin to waffle. See, I'm not much of a wine drinker, much to my wife's disgust, but Sauterne and foie gras is such a simple solution. I swing by the bottle shop and boom, I find the wine in seconds. Off to the supermarket and no dice. Local deli, strike two. There's one place left that could save me. It's a fancier deli in the next suburb, but plain duck pate is all they have. I do what any man in this situation would do and grab it. I rush home and clean the house and start the fire and tell my angry wife I've got a surprise for her. I sit down and serve us both the most indulgent combination as described by a quote wine expert I heard on a podcast. Word for word, I copied the explanation of the rare moldy grapes and its perfect pairing with foie gras. And my wife's look of anger and disgust melted into a content smile. We have a great night, and it ends with her asking, "Isn't the surf meant to be good the next few days? You should try to get some waves." Boom, out of the doghouse and into the green room. Thanks, boys. Work, Dan.
Done and dusted, Dan, and you are welcome. That's why we're here. Truly, like, I think people feel that sometimes when we pitch into surf adjacency, the wine talk, the food talk, well, the home talk, all of the talk, that we're off on wild tangents. But no, this is all to help the surfer live his or her best life.
I've told people, positive emails have come through in the recent months about the show feeling like it hit a stride or something. And my response is, I think it's just hit a point that's like an actual reflection of what's going on in our brains,
Yeah.
which is surfing is the background and the filter that everything gets pushed through that I think about. I'm thinking about surfing all the time. I'm wondering what the waves are doing. I identify as a surfer, but I'm not actually surfing all the time, right? I'm doing all of these other things. And so now the show reflects that ratio.
I mean, how often, let's just be honest, how often can you actually be in the water? And I know that there are those people, and God bless each and every one of you, who surf dog it, right? I know a dude back home in Cardiff by the Sea who is on every single dawn patrol. He is out before the sun rises every morning for a 2 or 3 hour session, and then we'll catch another one later. So he's probably surfing 5 or 6 hours a day. That's not me. Is that you?
No, but what's relatable is that was me in my 20s or, late teens once I had a car, and it will be in retirement. And so that's what everybody relates to is they feel they can connect with that guy, but then we're all for the vast majority of our life, this guy.
We're the guy who is surfing 2 hours a week, and then you have how many hours? How many hours in a week? 100 and 379. 450. What is 24 times 7?
Don't know, never done that math.
2 times 7 is what? Oh, Cersei Wallace is doing the math right now. 168. Cersei Wallace has it that quick. There's 168 hours. Uh-oh.
Yeah, 168. I just double checked it.
Yeah, David Lee Scales just double checked. So 168 hours in the week. I think average dude is surfing 4 to 6 of those 168 hours. What are you going to do with the rest of them? Foie gras and moldy grapes.
Now we're talking. I was at Trader Joe's this morning and picked up, didn't have foie gras, but they do have duck pate. So I grabbed that equivalent.
Duck pate is epic, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to hit it tonight. So I forgot
Yeah.
to do it last week. What is Cersei saying now? We
She's
just need a mic for her.
rolling her eyes. And she likes duck pate too, she says.
Oh, she's rolling the eyes at the foie gras though.
No. Are you?
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you animal cruelty is not my cause is
Exactly.
the
Oh,
quote.
okay. Hey, we all have the things that we indulge in and the things we fight for. So I appreciate that. Other listener feedback though. Remember Backside Dave?
Oh, how could I ever forget Backside Dave? What
We
was Backside Dave's buddy's name again?
No, it was Backside Dave's son who wrote Fletcher,
Yeah,
who wrote
Backside
in to
Dave Fletch.
submit his own name to Surf Ad's baby naming game.
Yes.
And then said, by the way, my dad is Backside Dave and his birthday is this weekend. So we gave him a birthday shout out.
Yeah.
I also sent Backside Dave a couple of t-shirts. So Backside Dave emailed this week to say thank you for the merch. He wears it proudly. He also said the whole family got a kick out of the whole exchange. And then he rambled into a bunch of pros in the wilds unintentionally. So I'm going to read those for you now. He said, "It's funny. I always have stories or opinions that relate to topics that you guys discuss. And I want to write in, but then I don't. Like surfing on my honeymoon from a few years back. I asked my wife to marry me in September of 1994, and we got married in October. So we could spend a few days in Paris and then head to Biarritz for the fall swell. Or jumping ahead to the to the kissing the kids on the mouth debacle. That's a big gaping barrel. I also have quite a bit of pros in the wilds. Here's a pro, or here's not a pro, but he is a legend. Sid Abruzzi. I saw him charging with West Lane at Ruggles in the late 80s. Got to witness some crazy shenanigans at the warehouse slash barn skate park that Skid had with the skater Fred Smith. Or the time my buddy brought Buttons and Reno to surf our local in Asbury Park. It was waist high and onshore, and they just put on a show and ripped the place to pieces. One of the best ones was when I was surfing Queens and Barton Lynch paddled out on his longboard. At the time, he was the world champ. My buddy asked to switch boards with him so we could watch him ride a shortboard. Barton obliged, hopped on my buddy's shortboard, and tore the beautiful walls of Queens apart. Last but not least was witnessing J.O.B., Kelly Slater, and Nathan Fletcher at the Waimea River Wave. Nathan was on a boogie board just chilling. J.O.B. was at it like it was his job. Oh, right, it is. And Kelly, well, Kelly was struggling. It was kind of crazy to see him not getting it dialed. And then he kind of made up, or he seemed kind of rattled, but he totally made up for it at the Pipe Billabong Pro later that week against Jack Robinson. He went on to ramble about his family background, but those were the pros and the wilds.
Love you, Dave, and also Barton Lynch. Imagine being out surfing. Barton Lynch is just on a longboard at Queens, the appropriate craft, and saying, "Hey, Barton, I'm gonna let you ride my board just because I want to see you rip." And Barton being like, "Sweet, here we go."
What a cool dude too, to be like, "Yeah, let's go, let's swap."
Yeah, I mean Barton Lynch. I cannot not imagine Barton Lynch being anything but happy, to be honest. I mean, can you imagine getting Barton mad?
Well, so interestingly, he does a periodic podcast. I think it's pretty sporadic actually, but it's called The Stoked Bloke. And a couple of maybe a month or two ago, he was having a conversation with Peter King, and I don't know how they landed on it, but he kind of revealed a flashpoint moment in his life, which was getting punched in the face, getting super sloppy drunk in a bar, and then getting beaten to within an inch of his life, and waking up in the morning, showing up at the beach, just fully like his face swollen, and having a realization that he needed to quit drinking, basically. And so I think that he had a lot more competitiveness and aggression up until that point in his life. But hearing him tell the story, it seemed like that was the turning point to where he's evolved into the Barton that we know today.
What I hear you saying is that Kelly Slater needs to start drinking. I feel if Kelly could have some late life fire, competitive fire, we would get one more version of Kelly Slater.
Well, you're not wrong. I think the ayahuasca journey and some of the journey he's been on is exactly related to him softening as a competitor.
I mean, completely. And also, though, I wrote about it today about uh the Kelly Slater, the beer that he likes, Michelob Ultra. Do you remember the Super Bowl commercial from 6 years ago where Kelly was paddling out singing "I like beer"?
Barely,
Uh,
but yes, now I do.
yeah, where Kelly though has been fully on the record of being anti-alcohol, right? Like as he should be. Let's be honest. But also, what if booze is the last bit of fire, that the last stick of dynamite that Kelly can light under himself that will give him one couple more years, man. Like just get a hammered Kelly Slater, just a sloppy drunk, just causing problems but ripping again.
Well, I want to know what the return on that investment is, because if it's not a world title, the booze will do too much detriment, to his personal life and livelihood. So there's a certain booze and a certain return, and if it is world title associated with it, might be worth the detrimental damage.
What if it's top five? What if it's 2 years of top five
2 years top five.
at 57 and a half?
How much personal damage does it do? What are the
Uh,
medical side effects and the personal anguish?
Medical is a wash, right? Kelly's, I feel, healthy enough where
No
that'll be a wash.
cirrhosis.
Yeah, no cirrhosis, but let's just say kid hates him and Kalani Miller leaves him.
Which kid?
Second one, first one already does. Second kid hates him.
Nope, not worth it. Not worth the gamble. Here's the other thing I'm going to suggest before Kelly commits to this mission. You got to sample a bunch of different alcohols to figure out which one makes you angry. Because I am totally an affable drinker. You know what I mean? Like, unless I have whiskey. And
Okay.
it took me 2 decades to figure that one out. And the good news is I wasn't drinking a ton of whiskey during those decades, but I would notice my anger on certain nights. And those nights were always the nights that I
Whiskey
led with
nights.
whiskey.
I have a great friend who is the same. It's like whiskey is his, like he's a totally fine dude. Give him whiskey and he may end up in a gutter. Like you never know what's gonna happen. He's like a fully fine, like not a crazy heavy drinker, but if the whiskey starts, no telling where that night's going.
Weird,
And
right? Like, and it's not like I get more drunk off it. It's not a
no,
matter of more intoxication and then that is the turning point for anger. It's specifically, I'm not any more drunk. It's just, it
you're
elicits an
angry.
emotion in me.
I feel that people, this happens with, I hear people mention tequila a lot of, oh, I can't drink it. I can't drink tequila. And it's not because they're going to get sick. It's because they get out of control with tequila.
Yeah, I'm fine with tequila. Do you have one that affects you differently?
I don't think so. I think I'm fairly even.
Hmm.
I'll notice that I can get like set off on like stuff that I wouldn't otherwise. But that feels like kind of across the board. That just feels like, and then I can see it coming too. I think, okay, I'm like really rage filled now about something, but this is silly rage. Like I need to keep this inside.
Okay, well, Kelly needs to do a
A
thorough
booze journey.
weekend with go to Costco, get one of everything, sit around on the weekend, figure it out, and then commit to the next world title.
And then two, like I feel that the competitor in him and Tom, like if you went and told Tom Brady, Kelly Slater, stinking Lance Armstrong, any of these guys who are freaks competitively, hey, I got there's going to be some damage here, but let's be honest, you've already done a lot of damage to your personal life, to your social, the damage is done. All of you competitive freaks, there is a wake of brokenness behind you. Yes, you have Tom Brady, you have 7 or 6 or whatever it is, Super Bowl titles and MVPs. Kelly, you have 11 world titles. Lance Armstrong, you have a lot of drug fueled bike wins, whatever. But I got a couple more good years for you. You just gotta commit to the Costco handle of booze life. Like you can't go
Exactly.
light. You've got to get the handle at Costco and start downing them. Pick your poison, hammer, 2 years.
Exactly. And good news is silver lining, that'll be a fun 2 years.
It'll be a great 2 years with probably some wins in there. I mean, there will be like picture a sloppy, drunk Kelly Slater out at Cloudbreak, for example. Like he's got the muscle memory to surf that thing blind, basically. So he's surfing it blind, both literally and figuratively at this point, getting on the boat. Yeah, yeah. Like uh, that's a Kelly Slater people want to see.
Totally agree. I'm all for it. Fun, fun couple of years, possibly a world title, probably a book. There's going to be,
Yep.
a book needs that kind of tension and conflict. So there's a book in there, potential documentary, lots to work on.
And you have the recovery years. How good are the recovery years? Like you the
Classic.
full on, I've come through it now. I've learned my lesson, but you get the like fun and the wins while you're learning your lesson.
We've mapped it out. Okay. Remember Sisterhood of the Traveling Surfboard?
Sure do.
We've
It
got
has a home.
follow up on that. I was under the mistake, I don't know why, I was under the mistaken impression that the first email was associated with Australia and then the surfboard was in Australia and that would create a problem getting it here. Turns out it's in Santa Barbara.
Oh, boom, done and dusted. So wait,
Yeah.
so are you in possession of the traveling surfboard?
Well, the owner of said surfboard splits his time between Seattle and Santa Barbara. He's currently in Seattle. He will be back in Santa Barbara in the fall at the latest for Thanksgiving. So we will do a trip in the weekend vans up to Santa Barbara to collect the board.
I mean, it's a Thanksgiving trip
Mm-hmm.
to kick off the traveling surfboard.
As the
What could
Queen
be
of the
better?
Coast starts to turn on.
The also, I feel now the fact that he's in Seattle part of the time that our dear beloved Matt Warshaw should be part of this traveling surfboard journey.
I like it. We'll incorporate him into it.
Yeah, Matt.
Um, so we will follow up on that as it comes to fruition. Chaz Smith returns to the world of vlogging this week with Chaz Smith Hates Surfing, with an episode entitled How Do You Know, or How You Know When It's Time to Quit.
there's a lot of subtle clues that people should listen to. And if you don't or can't listen to your own internal clues, log on. Log on to the vlog. I'll tell you. I'll help you.
Give us the sneak peek at the vlog right now. How do you know when it's time to quit?
Well, there's a few telltale signs. Do you know what a telltale is, David Lee Scales?
Telltale. I've never thought about it. I associate it with the Edgar Allan Poe uh,
Telltale.
Telltale Heart.
A telltale is that little, it's a little bit of fabric on a sail, where you can tell which way the wind is coming in via the telltale.
That makes,
Uh,
but you would think, wouldn't it be spelled Tail?
no, because I think that little piece of fabric is telling the tale.
Okay.
It's telling the tale of the wind, but it also looks like a tail. But in any case, uh, the some ways you can know that it's time to quit surfing. Let's be honest here. Let's just be quite frank. People get real mad. People got mad in the comments of this vlog when I was telling people to quit surfing. How is any surfer worth their salt not thrilled when somebody starts telling other people to quit surfing? Like, everyone first, check your heart, check your emotions, and say, if somebody's telling others to quit surfing, that is a net positive for everyone.
For
For
me,
me
it's
right
specifically
here.
for me. Yeah.
Like, I don't, like, people should be celebrating this. So people should be celebrating this particular vlog. But one of the real telltales, and tell me, David Lee Scales, do you ever wake up in the morning and look at Surfline and see that it's actually good? That it's like 3 to 4 offshore winds, tides right, waves are pumping, and you're like, and feel disappointed?
No. Well, disappointed if I can't go, but I
Are you,
only feel FOMO in that moment.
you don't feel like, dang it, if it was only bad, I could get on with my day, I could do my work, I could do everything I need to do, but it's good. And now I got to figure out how to surf today. Dang it.
I
But,
hear what you're saying, but I
and
have
it's,
not felt that way.
you have not, it's not like a positive, like, oh, sick. What? It's pumping? Cancel whatever I've got. I'm going surfing.
Yes.
In- Instead of, oh, it's pumping. I gotta go surfing.
Okay. If you would have worded this differently, if you would have said, do you ever get up and look and see that it's crappy and feel grateful it's crappy so that you can get your obligations done? Yes, the answer to that is yes. But if I ever see that the waves are actually good, no, that's only a positive.
Oh man, there's
So it's
times.
not time for me to quit surfing, is the point.
No, you keep surfing, keep surfing.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
those who look at Surfline, those who check the forecast and see that it's accidentally pumping that day, and you had your dial fully set for crap, and now it's pumping and it's sunny and it's offshore and it's like tide is legit right and everything is perfect, and you're like, "Oh, this is another thing I have to do today. This is another, my day was already stacked. It was like filled to overflowing already. And now I got to wedge this in. Time to quit surfing.
Are you feeling it's time to quit surfing?
I'm going to say that I feel that it's time to quit surfing because I really do feel that part of my mission in this life is to make surfing so unappealing. Both when people look at me and they say, I don't want to look anything like that dude. Uh, when I talk about surfing, I want people to say, whatever he's saying, I, I'm running the other way. I feel that I am the biggest gift that surfing has ever had by making it so unappealing and also telling other people, not is don't do it, man. I'm not in there talking about not showing people my trip to Nicaragua, not
Yeah,
showing people my trip to Maui, where I am right now. No, what, like, here's the thing. I'm somewhere that's a wonderful place. Why would I talk about that?
I get it.
Why do people talk about what they love?
Um, because they're benevolent and they want to share the gift with others. It is part of the nature of humans.
Uh,
But I think you are. Look, I think you're executing on your goal, your stated goal. And if it didn't land on this logical conclusion based on the title of your vlog, which is Chad Smith Hates Surfing, then it would have been misleading.
Yeah. So everyone quit. Like life is, and let's be honest. Let us be honest. Life is so much better beyond what, I mean, you could be out putting on a wetsuit, uncomfortable, stiff, weird, walking across the beach. Like if it's hot, I guess you're not in a wetsuit, but in Southern California, you probably stinking are burning your feet to get in the water. You're paddling out. It's crowded. Yeah. How much better would your life be if you were sitting back at home, drinking a Sancerre, eating some duck pate, just enjoying the day as it comes?
You know what? Some of us can do both.
I
Well,
wish less of us could do both.
I agree with you. Stick to it.
Hmm.
Um, well, so the commenters were
There's,
giving you grief saying you're an idiot.
I mean, there's like, it's not necessarily you're an idiot, but like there's, I will surf till my dying breath kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Which I get it. I get it. Like
Warshaw.
diehard surf bro.
So
But
War, I published a video with Warshaw 2 years ago about him explaining how he ended up in Seattle and coming to terms with his surf life. A lot of the conversation you're having, and for him, I guess I don't need to state it, but for him, it was uh, I got to surf great waves for a very long time. And I did not focus on family. I did not care about those things. And then I got the opportunity to have family and those things, and my priority shifted. And I had already done such a good job at the surfing thing that it was easy for me. And, you know, if you're living in crowded Southern California, you don't get great waves very often. They're always crowded. And so the version that I'm getting of it currently is a lesser version than what I've already gotten my fill of. And so it's okay to now focus and go do the family life thing for a period of time and just check in with surfing periodically with surf trips and stuff like that. Felt very rational, felt very enlightened, you know, actualized. But the comments that I constantly see on that video to this day are exactly what you're experiencing.
loser.
People just like, I've surfed my whole life. I could never imagine giving up surfing. This guy was never a real surfer in the first place. This guy's a kook, you know? I'm just like, wow, welcome to YouTube.
But also all those people should, I mean, which I guess you just realized, but dear listener, if you're listening now, stop talking about surfing. I mean, talk about it in negative ways.
There
Tell
you go.
people like, I'm giving up, man. It's a hassle. It's not worth it.
Well, while we're on this topic of YouTube, I want to encourage people to go to this video on YouTube. The vast majority of listeners are, of course, audio only, podcast only, because that's where we started. That's where we've been for a decade. YouTube is new, but I want to encourage people to get over to YouTube so that we can help build out that channel. And you know how I'm going to incentivize people to do that, Chaz?
Is there going to be a surfboard giveaway?
Not quite that ambitious, but we are going to give away some stuff.
Ooh.
What do you
Oh,
see here?
I see a Channel Islands Bio Grip. What is the Bio Grip made from? A Channel
EVA
Islands leash?
EVA foam. BioGrip is made from EVA foam, which is extra cushy. Your foot sinks into it, which gives you extra support and grip. But here's what I'm going to suggest listeners do, or here's exactly how you win. Go to cisurfboards.com, which is Channel Island's website. Pick a traction pad, pick a leash, whichever you prefer, one or the other, and copy the hyperlink and paste it as a comment on today's show. You have 72 hours. On Sunday, I'm going to tell Devon Howard from Channel Islands to go to this video and just randomly select one of those comments, and he will ship you the exact thing that you hyperlinked.
That is epic. And that is a great way to get something for free for nothing. All you have to
Something
do
that
is
you something that you'd love and that you would use. And they've also revamped all this stuff. So like I'm showing Mikey February's pad. You can pick a different one if you want, but the colorways are the reason I got Mikey February's. I like the subtlety of it. Um, Mikey doesn't like a big arch. You know, when I was a kid, there was always that big center
a
arch.
huge arch.
Yeah,
That was
Mikey goes,
weird.
I know it didn't fit. I guess maybe some people have flat feet, some people don't. But Mikey goes flat pad, They're all made, as you noticed, with the BioGrip, which is EVA foam, and it's recycled and recyclable. It's a three-piece pad. Uh, the leash has this new hex design. I can't really show you on the camera, but rather than it being fully round, it's the hex design, which they claim is more hydrodynamic. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know what kind of tests have been done on that, but
I will. I don't know if you were in the conversation when we were at Channel Islands in the weekendvans.com/surf
weekend vans, no slash.
weekend. There's no slash, just weekendvans.com. But was walking around with both Devon and Britt. I think it was before you got there. And they were like, I saw all the new all the new Channel Islands, like everything, right? The leashes, the traction pads, backpacks. There's like a whole new offering.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was like, well, I don't remember this. And they were like, we had kind of been doing it, but then we thought we're either going to quit this stuff or we're going to do it really well. And so they went and decided to do it really well and went and redesigned everything. So from traction pads to, I have a Channel Islands backpack that I am lugging through Maui and Paris. And that thing is like everything is like very well thought and well designed. It's not just like accidental merch that they're throwing the triple hexagon on. They're like actually thinking about the stuff.
Oh, 100%. They hired a guy who worked for a famous board bag company, previously. And I think they said he took 2 years redesigning everything. So there's been a lot of time and effort put into the stuff, and it is top flight. I have that same backpack that you got. You don't need another bag. You could fit
No.
everything in that bag.
I mean, it's legitimately, I came from Paris to Maui for this 2 weeks, in with only that bag, just like
Yeah.
stuff to full because the rest of the stuff's back at Paris, headed back there. But that's all I needed for 2 weeks in
Yeah.
that one Channel Islands backpack.
Amazing. Well, in regard to the hex leash, I was saying they call it a less drag. I guess the reason is just because the hex design releases water as it drags through because of the flat edges. So that is the argument there for less drag, which is more speed and faster surfing, of course. So go to
Really?
cisurfboards.com. I mean, pick your own poison. That's incredible. We're not even forcing this Mike February one on you. You pick your own pad or leash, copy it, paste it into our comments on today's show on YouTube. You could find it, just search Surf Splendor or The Grit. You will find this episode. And then, like I said, Sunday night, Devon's going to pick a winner. You got 72 hours or 48 hours, actually.
Get on it.
Get busy. The return of the Blood Feud this week. Shapers going toe to toe on on the internet, but Beach Grip is covering it. I'm going to read 3 headlines. You can walk us through them. Number 1, premium surf website publicly lashes humble surfboard shaper for getting out of line, exclamation point. The follow-up article to that was gentle surfboard shaper, publicly whipped by premium surf website, offers humble defense against scurrilous,
Scurrilous.
scurrilous charge. And then the third story is kind of adjacent. It is Blood Feud, John Pyzel versus Album's Matt Parker. If I was him, I would work on keeping my uninformed opinions to myself, end quote. That was Pyzel speaking about Matt Parker. Where do we begin?
Boom. Let's begin with the first. Let's begin at the start where Stab Magazine I felt like unnecessarily uh like whooped on album. I don't know who does albums, what their social medias, right? So Matt Parker, of course, friends of the show will remember Matt Parker. We used to actually record in albums beautiful studio for years, I feel, right?
Years,
Or
yeah.
some
Both,
years.
I
Yeah.
mean, 2 different locations.
Yeah, which an album, I think album needs no real introduction, but in case it does, album Surfboards, Matt Parker, I feel kind of came up when the last 5 years.
Way before. I'd
I
say,
mean,
yeah, really hard in the last 5. So
yeah,
let's go back 10 years. Matt Parker, uh, doing experimental kind of alternative shortboard design, high performance alternative shortboards. He was dabbling in asymmetrical. The flashpoint for him was Josh Kerr got off tour and then really embraced Surfline actually did a board testing feature where they sent Josh Kerr and somebody else, I forget who, down to El Salvador, and they rode a dozen different boards, and one of them was an album. And I don't know if they picked a winner or not, but Josh Kerr really connected with the album. And so then Matt started making Josh boards, and Josh's career post CT has actually been probably more successful than his career on the CT. And so that was a huge unlock for Matt. And then, of course, he embraced Asher Pacey and then other team riders, which,
Coco Ho.
yeah. And so Matt's blown up. That all happened in the last 5 years, I'd say.
Yeah. So, I mean, but Matt is like, knowing him and you know him, like just thoughtful, serious, eye to detail, like a great guy all around, right? And so in any case, I think he had posted on Threads, or I don't know he,
Wait,
right? I don't know
that was the
who.
buried lead for me. I was like, surf
Threads.
industry's on Threads? I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Threads. Have you started your Threads yet?
Hell no.
I haven't either. So anyway, somebody had screenshotted it though, where album, we'll say album, because I don't again know who posted this, but album said, just FYI, we're not, and I don't know
So
what.
Stab Magazine did a post about their upcoming electric acid surfboard test. A random commenter said, I think I see an album there in the outlines of the boards. And then
Yes,
Album chimed in and said, no, actually, we are not participating in this year's or electric acid surfboard test.
which on the surface is entirely benign, right?
Totally.
Why would you chime in? Stab though, it's such a stab move. It is so stabby to do this, of come in hot and passive aggressive. Of Stab chimed in, something like, yeah, what did they say? Yeah, well, you used to be in it, but you all you did was complain, and so you're not in here anymore.
You
Like,
used to, yeah, you used to, but you never stopped complaining.
you never stopped complaining. We're giving the slot to somebody else, something like that.
Correct.
Which,
Correct.
how unnecessary is that? But it's such a stab move to do that. Like because who's ever doing stab thing, like stab as, and this is why I thought this was a funny story. Stab as gatekeeper to, that's what I think they feel they are at this point, right? They feel, and they'll never say it, of course. Nobody will ever say it there, but that's the complete feeling of stab, is that we have elevated the shaper to superstar status via Stab in the Dark, electric acid surfboard test, our other properties, which are about surfboard design and surfboard shapers. We're kingmakers now. And how dare one of these people say anything even remotely critical, which Album's comment was not even critical. It was just factual. They're not doing it this
Right.
year. Uh, Stab getting all hissy about it and being like, and then unnecessarily saying you complain all the time. So that's
Totally.
one. The second piece to this, which it was importantly needed two pieces, was that Album's response was, actually only complained once when we had to send a 7-foot board to the men's. Is that where I was going?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I had to send a 7-foot gun or something to the Mentawis for Mick Fanning, I think it was. But otherwise, all cool, like long in the rearview mirror. Wish you the best of luck. Can't wait to watch this year. Like
Yeah.
all positive, positive, positive. Which again, Stab and their gatekeeping and their like, screw off. Who do you think you are? And which little like social media peon at Stab? It's not like it's some, dignified surf person. It's just whoever they're hiring. I mean, who was it? Mikey Cimarella? Like, who is like lashing back? Who is feeling that, oh, here comes Album saying something true. We need to whip him. And then be on alert any other shaper who dare say anything, because we make or break your career. That's the feeling I got, where Stab, fuck off.
Well, I doubt it was Mikey because I read Mikey's comments in the comments section. He'll often reply to somebody who left a snarky comment or just any comment, and his replies are often never ever snarky back.
It's
Like
it's
they're
generally pretty tongue in cheek, yeah. And I
yeah,
don't mean to pick on Mikey there. That was a
yeah,
that I was I'm trying to remember. Stab chews through so much, so many people. There's nobody at Stab, right? Where they all write from whatever, they're country, like the stab byline. There's no bylines there anymore. There's nobody actually putting their name on anything. And I feel there's people come up and go away. So then I get the feeling that whoever was writing that thread was whoever their social media new
Right.
hire is, who's getting paid nothing, who then feels like, okay, this is my time to like tongue whip. And they all take on the stab brand. I mean, it's like same when stupid Ash and Goggins, they always talk from the royal we, right?
Right.
Stab is never like, I think this. Like when I talk about beach grit, I never dare. And beach grit is two people. It is me. It's not just two people. It's me and Derek and, Gen C and JP Curry. There's like people there. But I never presume to talk about beach grit as the we. Like we do this, right? It's not we. It is I said this. Derek is his own person. Derek said that. Whoever. Beach grit is a collective, but stab is perpetual. The we, where you take on the, oh, now I'm writing for stab or I'm part of stab, so we da 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 da. Like, fuck off.
I do love a blood feud though. I like seeing the barbs back and forth publicly.
And I wish that, and of course, that's the thing is Matt is a polite dude and Album is a polite brand. They're not going to hit back, but it makes me, oh, not sad, but it may like if shapers, because I think, stab is important to the shaper community in terms of if you want to get, I don't know what it does for your profile and whatnot. If you win a stab in the dark, or if you win is there a winner at the electric acid surfboard test?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, they
is,
pick a winner.
so if you win one of these things, right, I'm sure that it puts you on the map as a shaper. Uh, and so there's some level of, hey man, not that stab is feeding them, but you don't bite the hand. Uh, like what? Stab has a nice platform and they're doing these things, but fuck off, stab.
Well, so I'll give you some backstory, give listeners some backstory, because I have talked to Album throughout all those years that they were involved with that or with the electric acid surfboard test, and I talked to other shapers too, and they don't um they don't want to disparage stab publicly. Nobody ever does, but I think everybody has had a similar experience to with stab, especially for the electric acid more than the stab in the dark, which is not having a lot of clarity on what the rules are in advance, and then the rules shifting throughout the production or the lead up to it. Whether it's, I know it, there was a time where Shapers built boards for Kelly Slater. He was supposed to be a test pilot, and then Kelly pulled out, as Kelly notoriously does. And so then they had to build, or the boards either got ridden by the new test pilot, even though they were designed for Kelly, or they had to shape a secondary batch of boards for the new test pilot. Or in the example with the 7-foot board that they had to send, Stab gave different criteria in that version of the test to each of the shapers. And so I think Album felt there's no way Mick's going to pick a 7-foot board as the winner. You know what I mean? Like no
Yeah.
matter what we do in our design, there's zero chance that we can win this because you've given us this criteria that almost automatically eliminates us. I guess we'll participate because we committed to it, but I just wish we would have known or wish it was equal playing field. And so for Stab's kind of or in Stab's defense, they're developing a concept and adjusting the concept from year to year. So they're not going to get it right out of the gates. And there are going to be people who suffer the consequence, early on, Hayden's surfboard breaking, and then Jordy Smith saying something negative about the board because it broke, and so Hayden got disparaged in that example. So I think that shapers have had misgivings along the way from their participation, but everybody stays quiet about it. What I was surprised in this exchange was that exactly what you said. Stab didn't actually vocalize their misgiving. They just came in and answered a listener's or a fan's question. It was Stab who then brought up the misgiving as if they
Yeah.
were unappreciative that Album was even involved.
You're complaining all the time, like
Yeah.
completely unnecessary. If you're going to be, the big fish or whatever, the big ship in the harbor, then even if somebody criticizes you directly and says, hey, the stab in the dark is crappy and unfair, the fact that stab regularly, and I'm talking about stab as the royal we now because you never know who's doing anything there. But the fact that they feel the need to weigh in on stuff that they should be well above, right? Like they should have hit Matt back on, or album back on, the actual sub channels and said, "Hey, real sorry that you feel this way," or whatever, right? Like, we get that, the, but whatever. Like, just be the bigger thing, where Stab is perpetually the smallest thing in the room, which
Yeah.
is embarrassing for them.
Well, secondary blood feud also includes Matt Parker, which is John Pyzel saying, quote, if
Pyzel.
I was him, I would keep my uninformed opinions to myself. Whose side are you on?
Well, this is a strange one because I like Pyzel is great, right? Matt Parker is great. And I would imagine that this thing is getting sorted via text or something. And if it's not, uh, I'd really like him to go, might as well go hard in the fourth quarter now. Like, if you guys don't like each other, then have at it, because this is what surfing needs more than anything. And the surfers aren't giving us this, right? I mean, Gabriel Medina, look at him. The guy, the Dark Knight, the guy we used to count on to being the anti-hero, is as lovable as can be at this point. Where is there a natural feud in surfing at this point? Where do you see this guy dislikes this guy, or this girl dislikes this girl?
You don't see it other than Felipe versus Chopu.
That's it. Like, it's maybe a Felipe versus Chopu, and that's it. The rest of it is, or Tyler Wright and Brazil, or whatever, right? Like, there's people
Chaz
just
versus
like the venue.
Kelly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing my best here, but I'm only one man. So if John and Matt genuinely have beef, and I really like John going on the record and saying something about someone, it wasn't just like a generic some shapers, right? It wasn't a, he specifically told Matt Parker, keep your uninformed opinions to yourself, which is a hammer, right? And
Yeah,
then
well,
I think, and then Derek called Matt, and I think Matt, I can't remember specifically what he said, but Matt had a real response, which was, kind and whatnot. But like, I feel there's beef there. I feel this is a proper blood feud, like,
we,
which is
we can
weird.
stir it up. Even if it isn't, let's stir it.
I mean, definitely, and they should both lean in, because why not? A, B, I feel they're on what John said, I felt was interesting, and I'm very, very curious, I suppose, about this. Is what John was saying is that Matt Parker at Album Surfboards, you don't shape any boards for top tier CT surfers, and so shut your mouth, basically, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm wondering, it honestly made me wonder, uh, how much does that inform next level shaping? It must, kind of, right? I mean, you're shaping for the best ever, but what John Florence does on a board, and I've heard this, I feel the conventional wisdom is what John Pyzel learns from John Florence, what Matt Biolis learns from Griffin Colapinto, what uh, Britt Merrick learns from Joao Chianca, these, Ferraris of athletes, then they take that stuff, they bake it in, and they broaden it for the everyman. So they are making Formula One cars, and then from that, and from the design stuff they get, they make Hondas for you and I. And the Hondas you and I get are better because of the Formula One. And I mean, this is true in car racing too, right? Like, Ford, all these they all have F1 teams, and then how much of that actually goes into what we ride? Let's be honest here. Would you rather have a John Pyzel, John Florence informing John Pyzel of stuff, and then John Pyzel trying to make that work for you? Or would you rather have Matt Parker doing stuff for an over the hill, still great, Josh Kerr, and then making that for you? Like, at the end of the
Uh,
day, this is about selling surfboards and or winning, but selling surfboards.
well, the my answer to your question is I am much more writing the style of boards that Matt Parker is now making versus high performance
Yes.
pointy thrusters, just for where I'm at in my surfing. And that's what Matt Parker unlocked, I feel, almost maybe not better than anybody else, but certainly right as much as anybody else in the surfboard market today, which is you're we all identified we can't ride the Ferrari anymore. And if those shapers are doing a good job at converting the Ferrari into a Honda, well, Hondas are kind of all the same. And so they're all converting down from Ferrari to Honda, but now there's kind of a ubiquity between Honda and Toyota and whatever else. They're all kind of deliver a similar experience for me who's not well equipped enough to understand the difference. But there's this other shaper who came in who gave us a Honda with like a Subaru, a souped up Subaru or whatever it is. You know,
WRX.
it's got
Yeah.
the bells and whistles. They somehow added back the bells and whistles for somebody who never had the access to the bells and whistles in the first place. And so that's, I think, where Matt's success has been. And those shapers, the funny thing is, neither of them were discounting, I don't think, the other person's prowess at doing what the other person does.
Yeah.
It
But
was the conversation was related to Jack Freestone specifically.
yes.
And it got out of hand because I think Matt might have misspoke a little bit. I think Parker might have misspoke. He was being interviewed by somebody on a YouTube interview, and the interviewer asked him about a comment that was made in Stab in the Dark, or in How Surfers Get Paid, actually, where a shaper implied that Jack Freestone was difficult to work with. So the interviewer kind of set Matt Parker up in a sense by like, hey, is Jack Freestone really difficult to work with? And Matt answered it and said, no, he's been a delight to work with. I love working with him and we've built some beautiful boards together. But then he did address Pyzel directly and said, yeah, I don't know where Pyzel had his bad experience from or something to that effect. So then, of course, Pyzel had to defend himself. And his defense was, you don't build CT boards.
And the thing about Pyzel, I feel, which again, boys, Matt, John, fight, please. This is what we need. This is what everybody needs. But also, Pyzel on the surface seems like a really good guy, right? And I'm sure that
Yeah.
he's a really good guy. I'm not saying like that he's not a good guy, but I don't think that you keep John John Florence in your stable without being a full-on shark, right? Like Pyzel, I feel has a lot of like fight. He's got a lot of dog in him, I will say. Like it doesn't present. He presents as just a good dude. But I feel that there's no way. For sure, people were coming for John John forever. And Pyzel, I think, is there flashing his teeth, saying, get away. While also, you don't just get to say that. You have to be making the best ever boards for John John. John John's not going to take a, oh, okay, we're
Of
bros, I
course.
guess.
Yeah.
I'll ride a sub tier board.
Look, we both know both those guys personally, and they're both, as you stated at the opening, really lovely,
Great.
great, super talented. Can't say a negative word about either of them. So I really feel like Matt, if given the second chance, wouldn't have even said addressed John Pyzel's name. And that was his final retort, I think, to Derek about it was, Pyzel's name never comes up here in meetings internally. And so we just focus on what we're doing. And the fact that his name came up in the interview, probably Parker might not do on a second lap. But not only are those guys great and they're talented, but it's super impressive the businesses that they've also built. So yes, I agree with you. Pyzel does have shark in him, as evidenced by the fact that he built a global business at this point, like,
Yeah.
and yeah, the marketing of John John is partially to thank for that, but you can't do it solely on the marketing of John John alone. You have to
No.
actually build a business. And both of those guys, respectively, have done that in very different ways.
Yeah, no. I mean, but again, I would like them to fight, and then I would also like Matt Biolas and Britt Merrick to fight. I would like them all to fight because
Mhm.
we've seen Ford versus Ferrari. We've seen the like you need and I feel they all do, right? They're kind and they're wonderful and they're beautiful people, but for sure they're like against the others. Like they want to be the best. These guys are all at that level, at the top level. They can be bros, but they are competitive. They are as competitive as the surfers themselves, which is I mock it. And it is mockable, the World Surf League Shaper rankings, but I think they actually all pay attention to it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I mean, and it's totally unfair though, because like Biolis has like what? I mean, Lost is leading by like a trillion times because he just has so many more surfers on tour.
yeah, he's
But
got
also,
three of the five Olympians riding his boards.
yeah, but he can also say, "Hey, look, I'm just better than all you guys." Like, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that I have so many of the top riders wanting to ride my boards because I'm better than you. But like, yeah, which again, all of this, and I feel though I know them all. I mean, not all of them, but I know Britt, I know Matt Biolis, I know Matt Parker, I know John Pyzel, I don't know the Aussies, but I know the American Hawaiian Shapers. Uh, they're all fully great. Uh, they're all really competitive. And as a consumer, as a surfboard end user, that's exactly what I want. I don't want them like, I don't want a monopoly of surfboards where there's one idea, and I want these guys to be disliking each other enough to be trying to innovate around each other.
I want to see a surf off. Matt Parker versus John Pyzel. We do a couple of rounds, one at Rocky Point and then one at Trestles.
Oh man, that's a good one. They could
And
also do
then
a
they,
foil off.
well, I don't know if Matt does the foiling, but after that, they have to shape each other a surfboard.
It's beautiful. And then they have to shape both of us two surfboards.
Well, while we're on the North Shore, should we do a pros in the wild?
We sure should.
How are you doing on time?
I'm great.
Okay, cool. Hello, DLS and Chaz. As a semi-retiree, I plan for and am lucky enough to spend 3 winter months a year on the North Shore of Oahu. As you can imagine, I see a lot of pros driving around in stores at the ATM and especially in the pipeline area when I'm just watching from the public bench in between the Volcom houses. My afternoon surf sessions usually begin at Haleiwa 7-Eleven for my $1.87 medium cup of coffee. I was sitting in my van a few years ago watching people come and go, and a truck backed in next to me. The COVID masked driver's profile caught my attention. He had one of those strong jawed faces that are pretty rare, especially for older guys. I knew who it was immediately, even through the mask. Or I knew who it was immediately, even through the mask, and I waited for him to return to his truck. I put my window down and I said, "Hey, Ken, looking good. I enjoyed years of watching your videos." He gets out of his truck, walks over, and shakes my hand and says, "Thanks, man. That's really random." Ken Bradshaw said that his surfing has been sidelined due to injuries, but he still gets in the water with a lot of his kids. He went on to show me videos of him and his family in Indonesia, and he talked about how they're getting really good at surfing. The amazing thing about the whole story is that he's 71. His wife is 35, and their kids are 10 and 5. I ran into him a year later in the same scenario and saw more videos. He seemed very polite and seemed to appreciate being recognized. FYI, don't approach young pros, but I knew an older one would appreciate and respond. T from NJ, work.
Thank you, T from NJ. And yeah, like I feel that is true about the older surfer can look back on the rear view and say, "Yeah, it was ridiculous that I ever got to do this to begin with." And so the least I can do is be gracious to anyone and actually feel graciousness in it. Like actually thank you for actually caring. And here's some video from me and my young wife and baby children.
I mean, the Ken Bradshaw owned the planet for a short period of time. I mean, maybe a decade, actually, maybe not that short, but I mean, he was King Kong, you
I mean,
know?
all the strapped years and all that, like I mean, he was out there doing it.
It was insane. And there was like I want to say he rode the biggest wave in the world, but like maybe Guinness wasn't tracking it, or there wasn't the XXL awards. But I remember specifically when I was a teenager, there was like a 58-foot wave or something like that at Jaws, and it was a tow wave. Or maybe it was because it was a tow wave that nobody was quite acknowledging it. But it was the biggest wave on the planet, and he was
Yeah.
on like 60 Minutes and stuff like that. And he was just the rugged, um, John Wayne, Chuck Norris type character, but in the surf world, in the unconquerable portion of the surf world, which is the North Shore of Hawaii, just doing it. And then for the last 15 years, haven't heard a thing.
He's like the Yang to Laird Hamilton's Yang. I feel they're both the same dude. They're not yin yang because they're the same dude, but just Laird has a public facing part and Ken doesn't. But and I feel that even Laird's public facing part is no like I really turned a corner on Laird. Laird was fun to make fun of, I think, for a minute. But Laird is, and he was fun to make fun of because he's undeniably great at what he was doing. And so then it's easy. It's easier to make fun of the Kelly Slaters and stuff, right? I don't like to punch down. I don't like to make fun of para Olympic surfers and things like that. Like you make the greats are easy because who cares what I say about them, right? Uh, Laird understanding the joke, the like he messaged you at some point too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, he messaged Derek at some point and just like in on the joke, right? Gets it, gets that
Yeah.
it's funny. And I'm like, stinking Laird Hamilton, could you be any cooler at this point? Like, where I can make fun of you, Beach Grit can make fun of you, whatever, and you don't take it personally. That's all I want
Yeah.
anyway, and that you get it. But I feel that so Laird, great, cool, demigod. Ken too. Just Ken went quiet. Ken went, said, I'm out of here. I'm disappearing.
Well, what was interesting though is I feel like in Ken's heyday, he wanted the limelight and the spotlight, and he was actually, it seemed to me, maybe I'm totally wrong in this assessment, but it seemed to me that he was dismayed that he wasn't quite getting the credit that he felt he deserved and that maybe Laird was getting. And because, yeah, so you would think that based on the way that the story played out, that he was a recluse and that he was shirking the limelight, but he was actually, it seemed to me, vying for it. Just for whatever reason,
Just didn't come.
Laird, yeah, it was like Laird just had a little bit more. You know what? Do you remember Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah.
where it's like Brad Pitt is the better looking, the more talented, the more rugged, yet it's Leonardo DiCaprio that is the lead actor.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, completely. And I feel that those cards fall as they do. But I wonder Ken too, with his young bride and bevy
That's
of
that's the
young
buried
children, if
story
he's just
there.
like, ah, well, what I'm, yep, I guess life ain't bad.
I think the story here that we can all take away as a tool to live by is the best way to stay young is to have a family with people half your age.
Yep. That's
If
why Donald Trump is doing just fine and Joe Biden is struggling hard.
that's a great analogy. I mean, look,
Oh,
dude, if you're 66 and you have a kid with a 29-year-old, which is the exact math that he delivered in that story, and you have a newborn and you're 66, it's going to keep you young, man. A 29-year-old wife is going to keep you young.
it's really true. I mean, having kids, like I feel the more you have to hold children, your children, like that's what where dad strength comes from and longevity. Once you stop having kids, it's just a slow rot.
Totally. The dad strength is all of the interstitial muscles. Like if you do bicep curls, you're focusing on your bicep. But when you're picking up a kid, it's all the muscles surrounding the
Everything.
bicep and the joint and everything in between that all gets strengthened because you're doing it from weird angles. And so you
Always
just
weird
become this
angles.
brick of muscle.
How, I mean, I am convinced dad strength comes from carrying children, uh, and like carrying children at Disneyland and stuff, where you're like doing 15 miles carrying a cranky and or sleepy. Like when you're carrying Austin and you got a hike ahead of you and he falls asleep, uh, I don't know how children get heavier. You'd think they'd be the same weight. You would think that a awake child weighs 40 pounds and a sleeping child weighs 40 pounds. Nope. An awake child weighs, about 28 pounds. A sleeping child weighs 75 pounds.
That's
And
dead weight.
it is dead weight. You'd think that it would be same. It is
Nope.
absolutely not. It is a different kind of weight.
It's not, but thankfully I've got my drinkag1.com/surf to keep me powered through all of it.
That's all you
Keeps me in
need.
business. Okay, well, let's go to commercial break and we will be back with Barrel or Not. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. All right, Chaz, welcome back.
So good to be here.
Oh my gosh. Who would have known I waged war last week against cashiers the world over?
I mean, did you get people getting furious at you? The one that I saw
Hated
come
me.
into both of us, the one I saw was kind and it was funny,
Yeah.
but the rage at you was so barely be under the surface.
Oh yeah, that one
Hey,
was barely under the surface. That one was,
it
I
was
mean,
let me work harder.
yeah,
Make him work harder.
it was actually funny. I thought it was great.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he put a lot of effort into it. He said, "Hey, having done some time as a checkout operator back in the day, I'm completely on board with making life miserable for them and toughening them up, making them lift items up and out of the basket and then across the scanner is making a bricklayer lift the brick 3 courses higher than the necessary before laying them down. It is a great workout towards the end of a 5-hour shift and builds strong humans. I have some more ideas. Play hide the barcode, where if placing it on the conveyor belt. Don't group your items, i.e., cold stuff, together. The operator needs a bagging challenge, and this will help sharpen them. Actually, leaving them in the basket means you already halfway there, so you don't need to dig around. Uh, keep going back. Third option, keep going back to the store where the guy told you to empty the basket as he thinks he solved his problems. Keep going back to the store where the guy told you to empty the basket as he thinks he solved his problem. He never wanted you back, but now you can keep showing up and have a couple of other tricks up your sleeve. You might pay for it and having to wait a bit longer, but who cares about efficiency when you're building much needed resilience into our kids? Plus, you'll have time to faff about with the lane splitter things. Heap! Exclamation point.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I mean, this is somebody, I mean, it was clearly a checker at some point, right?
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like really kicking his fellow checkers right under the bus. It was hilarious.
Well, sarcastically ripping me a new one.
Yeah.
And that was tame compared to the ones that were like, I've heard you sound like a douche before, but never as douchey as you were in that moment. So fully war waged. I stand in my position for the record. I did not state it, but my very first job ever was at a grocery store bagging groceries. So I have experience there. Um, but what I want to explain with zero animosity towards the checkers of the world, I'm saying this, even that rant was with your best interest in mind. What I want to say is the exact workload difference. Like I stated last week, there's no difference. Lifting it out of the basket or lifting it off the scanner. The exact workload difference between lifting the items out of the basket versus just off of the conveyor belt is the exact same amount of work as me scanning my own grocery in the self-check. So guess what? Your only defense against the machines was for you to be courteous to the customer who finances this entire operation. So if you picking the dividing line that makes this exchange contentious is what you're going with, then you've designed the exact wrong experience. Making a contentious thing between you and the customer, where if I have to do this, then I might as well just be in the self check doing it for myself, is where the machines come in.
Guess what? They've got you over a barrel. Because guess what you can't do at the self check?
Booze.
Exactly. They know they made the perfect one one little thing where they're like, you're in my world now. You got to come to my world all the time. I make the rules here. I am the Stab magazine to shapers. I will hurt you. I will do whatever. I'm make fun of you. Do whatever I want. You got that booze. You don't want booze? Hey, go help yourself. Check out easy.
Have you ever heard of a junkie saying, can't afford my fix today, I'm just going to give up the dope?
Never.
They always find a way. You
Yep.
keep my booze from me. You know what? I'm just going to steal it and go check out with my groceries through the checkout line.
I thought that
I
was a
will be
full.
making grain booze in my toilet tomorrow if you
I
try to
thought
block it.
I thought that was a full American thing. Here on the island of Maui, I went and tried to check out, and it was a unfamiliar language that popped up, and I just sat there looking at it. And then somebody finally came and told me that I couldn't do that because I had my beer. I was like, oh man, wow, this curse came here too. Why can't I check out beer? It's a bunch of kids checking out beers, and the drinking age is like 10 here.
They speak a different language on Maui.
Yeah, they do. It's pigeon.
Weird. Weird. Yeah. All right. Barrel or not? Referring to the bedroom as, quote, where the magic happens.
Oh, no barrel. No barrel. Any euphemism uh for the bedroom is a no barrel. Like you just can't do it because if you're anybody who's making the euphemism is married, right? No,
I
no,
hope so. I mean, I hope they're not dating and that's how they're referring to it when the
no,
girl comes over for the first time.
no single person like you go to the single person's house and this is my living room, this is my kitchen, this is where the magic happens, right? Only married people say that. Nobody needs to think about the magic in marriage, right? It's important to keep that magic. It's important to make that magic. Addressing that magic actively kills that magic. It is like, this is my Chaz Smith hates marriage. Here you go. This is my gift to you. If you want to kill the sexy part of your marriage, address it in crazily unsexy ways.
Totally agree. I'm going to go a step further and say if you do refer to it as where the magic happens, it is not, in fact, where the magic happens. I would argue you are making zero magic. Even when engaging in the act, it is not magical. You cannot perform it in a magical way because you're using that euphemism.
Exactly.
So I have a feeling that for those who have figured out how to make magic in that space, they keep that a secret.
It's all hush hush.
It's between them and their loved one, not partner.
Exactly.
Good. Well, let's put that to rest because anytime, look, I haven't toured a lot of bedrooms in my life, but anytime I see it on TV and there's a tour of the bedroom, almost 10 times out of 10, that is what they say.
Yeah. It's
So give it
very
up.
bad.
It's played out. Okay. Barrel or not, trucker hats. I need some clarity, especially from Chaz. I wear a trucker hat to the beach or around town to protect my dome from the sun. And if I haven't buzzed my head in a while and I want to cover it up over the overgrown, barren wasteland that is my genetically disowned hair growing ability. When I say trucker hat, I'm not talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not talking about the 2007 Ashton Kutcher type hats. I'm talking about the brand ones from like Patagonia or North Face or Surf Brands or whatever. I wouldn't wear one to a restaurant, formal event, or anything other than casually around town or beach type stuff. But I'm even 50-50 on these branded ones when I pop one on. But I've never stopped to consider, are trucker hats actually dead? Am I an old millennial not realizing that Blink 182 is considered classic rock now? Should I finally stop wearing my baggy cargo shorts and Limp Bizkit t-shirt? Just kidding. That last one's a joke. So are trucker hats still acceptable in some situations, or do they need to be laid to rest? And if so, what's the new acceptable hat and etiquette? I'd like to remain anonymous. Thanks.
Okay, here we go. This is easy, and I got you. Calling it a trucker hat is unchill. It's just a hat, right? Like the mesh back foam front. We all know what a trucker hat is, right? But the moniker trucker hat, I think, makes you or dates you as coming from the era when people referred to them as trucker hats. They're just hats now. They're like, there's all kinds of hats that have that, you have different kinds of hats. And we're talking specifically about baseball hats here, of course, right? Let's talk about baseball hats or caps or whatever we want to call them. But there's the 5 panel type, there's the unstructured type, there's your classic whatever, whoever makes the actual MLB, can't remember, New Era. There's the New Era, like proper fitted baseball cap with the baseball team on it. And then there is the mesh varietal. Let's just not call those trucker hats anymore, and it is totally acceptable. That is just another version of a baseball hat.
And you're not disavowing it?
No, it's totally fine. There's no 90s vibe with that kind of hat. Like that hat has existed now for decades. Just fine. And there's different versions of it. I think
Yeah, yeah.
there is the Von Dutch version, right? The version of that hat that's really trying to throw back to 90s, 2000s style. But the vast majority of those hats are just happen to have like the meshy part back here and the foamy part or whatever up
Yes,
front.
it is a foam. It's the cheapest version of a hat, I think, is the one that he's referring to when he says the Ashton Kutcher style hats, which
Sure.
is, like you said, mesh in the back, foam in the front, a little bit of structure to it, but not as much structure as the multi-panel thing that you're talking about, which I was going to say nah to those entirely. But as you talk through it, I'm realizing my nah is more associated with the design of that hat. Like what brand is branding it? What
But
color is the hat? That sort
but
of thing is where it becomes offensive.
that hat though really works on some people's heads. Like it does
True.
not work on my head. Like to me, the question that you should be asking with the hat is what hat, we all have different shaped heads. I'm wearing a hat right now. I forgot to bring a hat. I forgot, what's trouble? When you come to Maui and you forget to get a haircut before you came, and then I'm stuck now. I am stuck in Europe slash Maui for I'm still here for another month almost. I've been here for a month. I'm here for a long time, forever, as far as anyone is concerned. I did not get a haircut before. Now, what do you do? Do I amble into a foreign barber
Yeah.
and try to explain what I'm going for here? Uh, I just like it's funny wife said that when we were in Paris, wife said, "Are you kidding me? You think that the person who cuts your hair back home is better than a Parisian barber?" But I look at like the weirdo barbers down the street. I'm like, "What do yeah?" Like she knows my hair. She knows how to like. I know for a fact I will go into one of these places and come out looking like a weird freak. It'll be so uncool. And so then I am stuck, I'm just going to throw a hat on. My hat just blew off I'm wearing the wife's hat now because my hat today blew off on a roller coaster. But,
Do you have roller
but
coasters in Maui?
they got all kinds of stuff in Maui. But, the, anyway, I wish that I could wear that kind of hat, that easy to find, cheap on every street corner kind of, we will call them trucker hats, I suppose, because it's the easiest parlance. Uh, it doesn't work for my head. That's the number one thing. If that works for your head, have at it. If you're like forcing it, then don't. Like, but the hat that works for your head is the hat that works for your head. Embrace that hat.
Well, to listeners' point or question, there was a moment where the trucker hat got so obnoxious that it almost got canceled altogether.
Almost
But
did.
Yeah, really almost did. But through a collective movement from all the other styles of baseball hats, they wrenched it back into our good graces. I think he's totally fine, especially like he's saying the Patagonia version of that hat
Exactly.
is totally, totally fine. You are welcome to wear that in your casual environment, and it is not an affront.
And he's exactly right also though that you do not wear it to find dinner. You don't pair no hat at all. Like
Yeah.
if you're pairing a
Yeah.
fedora
Yeah.
with your
Yeah. Yeah.
suit, then you're going way too far. But
Correct.
like, yeah, no hat goes in, hey, I wish we lived in the time when men wore hats, right? I look at pictures of the 1940s and think, wouldn't that be cool? That's not our time.
I joke, I make the joke fairly regularly, and it gets a laugh from Lauren every time uh, about committing to a hat lifestyle. I'll do it the joke comes in different ways. Like I'll be scrolling Instagram and there'll be an advertisement for like, some hipster full brim, like
Yeah.
whatever. And I'll in complete earnestness just glance over at her and be like, hey, like, what do you think? Should I get this one in brown or black? You know? And then she'll look at me just for a split second, like, who do you think you are? You know? But
Imagine the hat lifestyle. Those dudes in the 40s, cowboys, like I guess truckers, uh, they never ever had to worry about a haircut. How like you just would get it cut and then that's all you needed to do. Then you put a hat on.
I feel like some people get their haircut specifically knowing that they're gonna wear a hat so that it flips out in a certain way. Like I was with Chris Christensen yesterday, and I literally had this thought. I'm like, I've never seen this guy without a hat. And then he has like a hair flip, not just in the
Light up his hat.
back where your hair's long. It's like he grows it long on the side so that it can flip out in front of his ear because that's now his look.
You know what I want? I want Matt Parker to publicly make fun of Chris Christensen for his hair, and then Chris Christensen really snap back.
Three-way feud.
Yep.
Uh, by the way, in reference to your haircut dilemma, I specifically wait to get my haircut in different countries.
Well, here, I mean, maybe I'm just like have PTSD. I didn't get a cut. Did I? I might have. I got my hair cut in Syria. Uh, and it was bad. But then my buddy got his haircut in Syria and also got it styled accidentally. Like he just said yes when they said, "Can we style it?" And it was so shocking. When you know your buddy and you've seen your buddy and you look at your buddy and then your buddy comes out looking like a freak. And like I think that PTSD is what I feel if I go into a French salon. I'm gonna come out looking like I walked out of Syria.
Well, I've gotten haircuts in India, Sicily, Central America for sure. Um, and it's been mixed bag of reviews, but I guess I don't have the same stylist that I go to here anyways. I always have kind of a random hairstylist cut my hair. So it really doesn't matter, but it's now become a fun game for me. Like how many countries can I add to this? So if I need a haircut, but it's like leading up to a trip and I don't have time to get to the place to get it
Then
cut,
you
I'm
get
like,
it.
who cares? I'll just get it done when I'm there.
Okay, I'm gonna get a haircut here on the island of Maui, and we're gonna see. I'll do before and after photos, and we can post them to surfsplendor.com.
Do a vlog about it.
Yeah,
Chestnut
I will.
hates surfing.
And haircuts.
Um, Final Bear Lanai is just in relation to Ken Bradshaw's uh, lifestyle choice, marrying a woman half your age.
Man, uh, I'm gonna say no. I'm just gonna go ahead and say no. Like the I feel there's some like nice synergy with marrying someone near your own age. You are like, you appreciate the same things, you have the same reference points to the past, more or less, right? Like all of these things I think become more and more valuable the longer you're married to somebody.
Yeah,
Where
that's true.
you understand the same things and you're on the same path, right? Like I cannot imagine at this point uh being married to somebody half my age and trying to think like, oh man, you're sitting there watching YouTube in bed where well, you're like, and then like I have an 11-year-old daughter, right? I get enough of looking over her shoulder, trying to wrap my brain around and not being critical or negative about it, but trying like the other day she was watching whatever YouTube, kids working real hard, long days, has had stinking what, 2 days off in the last one, two, three, four, 2 days off in the last 4 weeks, and both of those were international travel days.
Okay.
So has literally had zero time off. Uh, and so when she kicks back after ballet, sometimes throws on the YouTube, I'll, oftentimes like, don't fry your brain. This time I'm like, hey, fry that brain. But
Yeah.
and then sitting over her shoulder trying to figure it out, right? Like, I can't imagine if that was my wife. If I was like, you're whoa, man,
I
YouTube? Because it's not just like whatever crap Lauren watches is in your wheelhouse of
yeah.
understanding. She
Yeah.
watches like bad, whatever. Does she
Yeah.
watch bad reality? Whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Last night it was So You Think You Can Dance.
exactly. But you
Yeah.
understand that. I understand that. Like, that is
Yeah.
part of my, I understand reality television. That's in our purview. Like, I can't imagine trying to but maybe it keeps you young. Maybe Ken Bradshaw is 39.
That was the argument that we made 30 minutes ago, which I stand by, is like it will keep you young, but the intellectual component that you're talking about, I can't get past.
Yeah.
And especially for you and I who are in our 40s thinking about marrying somebody in their 20s, like I
20s.
interact with 20-year-olds. There is a very, very limited interaction that we can have. It is
Yeah.
like very shallow.
Yes.
And it's fine, but there's zero way that you'd be able to build a meaningful life, that I would be able to build a meaningful life. But I wonder if that actually, you said it matters more as you get older. I wonder if in a different way it matters less when you get older. So 40-year-old marrying a 20-year-old, huge disparity. 60-year-old marrying a 30-year-old, little less disparity. But then it starts to get physiological because once you go 70 marrying a
40?
35-year-old,
Yeah.
35-year-old woman is in her peak
Yes.
prime, like peak female everything.
70, you're
And
done.
70-year-old dude is on the downside by a long slot.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I just don't see how it works well for anyone, to be honest. And
Half is
for
a
the,
lot.
for those who are in the autumn spring relationships or whatever they're called, like, I salute you. I just can't ever imagine doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it works for some, clearly.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my brain around it personally for me.
Apparently it works for Kelly Slater.
What's the age difference there?
It's got to be at least 20 years.
You think? Well,
Yeah, I
Kelly,
think.
no. Well, yeah, maybe you're
Yeah.
right. Kelly's 52, so she's early
Yeah, it's
30s, mid 30s.
probably early mid 30s. It's probably a 20-year gapper.
Interesting. I never considered that component of their relationship before.
But it's true.
Yeah, weird.
But I also think that like, when you're a Kelly, when you're some of these dudes, I feel you're not normal anyway if you're Kelly. Like, so it's not like you have a normal reference point to anything. You're just a total weird freak. And so you could marry a 80-year-old or a 8-year-old and be like, understand.
Well, also
Not that Kelly
physically,
Slater should marry an 8-year-old, but
well, physically though, him and Ken Bradshaw both are almost youthfully, eternally youthful.
yeah,
So
yeah.
then there's that going for them. That kind of narrows the divide a little bit, but whatever. You know what? Checkers of the world, come at me. May December romancers, come at Chaz. We're ready for you this week. Do it on YouTube, in fact, where you can win a Channel Islands
Woohoo!
EVA biofoam traction pad or the Hex leash. I mean, seriously though, how cool are these colors?
I mean, epic. And also, I really want one of those squishy pads. Like, I feel that, and nothing against Astrodeck, nothing against those Fletchers, but everybody made just like a real painful pad. I want a squishy pad. I want
Yeah.
my foot to sink in and just be like, ooh, memory foam.
Remember when your knees used to get like roughed
Oh man,
up?
I was just gonna say that on an accidental duck dive or something, like when it swings and it would fully cut you,
Yeah.
your tail pad would cut you.
That was before the days when they got the tail pad really sorted out. But man, I
Yeah.
remember youthful days of like just rashed up knees.
Yep. Yep.
So, all right. So, yeah, Chaz, if you want to win one, go to cisurfboards.com, copy and
Gonna,
paste it into our comments section on today's show, and maybe Devon will pick you.
gonna do it.
All right. Well, hey, wherever you are on Maui, enjoy. We will see you next week. Until then.
Keep work.
All right. All good?
Sweet. Thank you.